So I'm on a cycle ride at the moment, and I thought this would be a good time to test the Neo 90 Instax camera with the Evo to compare analog and digital to see the difference. There's my Dutch bike. So let's have a look at the results. Hi, so I'm back from my bike ride, and what we're going to do now is we're going to compare the 90 to the Evo in terms of usability and picture quality. So if I just talk about the differences first, the 90 is an analog camera. So what that means, it's basically a lens with an exposure meter just there, which calculates the shutter speed. So when you press the shutter button, the shutter opens, exposes film, and it pops out there. As simple as that. The Evo is a digital hybrid camera. So what that means, it has a 5 megapixel sensor with a printer attached. You can also print via Bluetooth from your phone. So you select the images you want to print, pull this lever, the film's exposed by a light bar inside, and it pops out there. So those are the main differences. The Evo obviously is more money because it's a more complicated camera. I will say that the Mini 90 battery, they've both got rechargeable batteries. The 90 has a removable battery in here. It does last a lot longer than the Evo, which would last you about, if you're using it a day, if you use it throughout the day. So yeah, the battery life is definitely better on the 90. So some annoyances I have with these cameras, the Mini 90 is the focus ranges. So there's 3 different focus ranges. So when you first turn it on, it's 0.6 meters to 3 meters, and it's auto flash. You can suppress the flash. I'll go for that later. There's also a macro mode, which is 0.3 to 0.6 meters, which you activate by pressing this button. Also activates a lens into the viewfinder to compensate for the offset between the viewfinder location and the lens, because obviously the closer you get to a subject, the bigger the offset, so it just helps you line up your images. I mostly use landscape mode, which is 3 meters to infinity. To select that, you have to go through the menu page using the mode button, which is a bit annoying. So one issue is, say if you're taking a selfie and you've got a backdrop, say a landscape, you have to put in landscape mode, which results in your faces being a bit blurry. One way around that is using the tripod hole and a self timer, but to be honest, I just try and hold it as far away as possible and take the pictures. It's not too bad, but it is a bit annoying, and obviously it takes longer to take an image with the Mini 90 because you have to play around with the settings. I do recommend suppressing the flash when you're outside, because sometimes it can accidentally activate, which shortens your shutter speed and can create dark images. I'll show you some of the failures later. You most probably need to use lighten and darken as well. So the day I took these images was overcast, so I had to use lighten. There's also a light plus and a darken for really sunny days. One annoyance with the Evo is images can appear different on the screen than when you go to print it out. So if we take this one, for example, you can see a lot of detail, a lot of colour, but when I went to print it out in natural mode, some of the detail was lost. You can also lighten and darken the images with the Evo, but you do still find it's not quite as detailed as the 90. One good thing with the Evo actually is double exposures are a lot easier, because you can see what you're actually taking a picture of as you're doing it. So it's easier to line up. There is a guide in the viewfinder of the Mini 90, like a little circle in the middle, which can help a little. But you don't know how your image is going to come out, and mine actually failed. So I forgot to darken the image, because obviously exposing the film twice, that's twice as much light. So I should have darkened and changed the focus range as well. It came out a bit blurry, so that kind of failed. So if I start with the failures first, what happened here in default mode with the 90, the flash activated whilst I was outside, which meant the shutter speed was shorter and it underexposed. Didn't have that problem with the Evo. That's how it should look. Another failure, same thing happened again. And that's with the Evo. But when you do get it right with a 90, you do find it can produce quite good images, especially considering it's a plastic lens, not a glass lens. So let's take this one for example. Quite colourful. This is with a 90. Quite detailed. And if you compare it with the Evo, I would say the 90 does look better. I do find also that the Evo can overexpose images, especially when there's shadows. So if we take a look at the 90 first, you see there's a shadow that side. What happened with the Evo is, to try and compensate for that, it overexposed the whole film. So again, the 90, it definitely did a better job there. You can also find details can get lost in shadows as well with the Evo. So this is the 90. If you take a look at the man there, the statue of the man, and this is the Evo, he's not showing up as well with the Evo, I think, as the 90. Colours also look a bit more redder with the Evo, a bit less natural. You can kind of see it in this one actually. So this is the 90. You can see all the detail there, which is quite good for the size of the film. You see all the bricks. And this is the Evo. So it also did a pretty good job there. So if we compare, they're both pretty good. I would say you can maybe see the bricks on the white wall a bit better on the 90, and it looks a bit more natural. This picture is taken in shadow. This is the 90. And the Evo. So if we compare. So yeah, to summarize then, I would say the 90 does take better pictures, but you're more likely to get more film wastage, and not all your images would come out. But what I would say is you will find you take less images with the 90, because every time you press the shutter button, it's costing you money. So you will find your images a bit more considered and a bit more meaningful, if that makes sense. Whereas with the Evo, a digital version, you will take a lot more pictures, maybe more than you need to. So it kind of stops you from doing that with the Mini 90. The Evo is good if you don't want to waste film and you want to add filters. So for example, if I take one of the images I took, I did also do a monochrome. You've got that option on here. There's loads of filters, whereas you're stuck with either colour or black and white, depending on what film you put in the Mini 90. I would recommend going for the 90 over some of the later versions, which has got rid of the suppress flash and the light and darken. A lot of the images actually all of them, the ones that came out, I had to lighten and suppress the flash. So it is good having that option. Take the SQ1 for example, which is square analog version. They've dumbed it down from the SQ6. The SQ6 had all those options and they pretty much got rid of it. So I don't really recommend the point and shoot cameras, because the exposure meter can get it wrong. So yeah, let me know what you think. Which one do you prefer? Feel free to leave comments. I have got a more in-depth review of the Evo on my channel. Feel free to take a look at that. Okay, thank you for watching. Goodbye.